Hey guys, today we're going to be taking a look at the Rhok'Delar Hunter quest line that gives you your bow and your staff. This quest starts off by getting the Ancient Petrified Leaf from Major Domo in Molten Core, and I'm going to be showing you how to kill every boss without a single consumable or a buff from another player. This quest is a lot of fun and I really enjoyed streaming these kills. It's worth making a hunter just to have a go at this quest line, as there's really no other quest like it at all. So let's jump in. Winterspring boss Artorias the Doombringer. Artorias spawns in the northeast of Winterspring and does an anti-clockwise patrol in the flat, icy basin there. You can use demon tracking when looking for these bosses. When they are in neutral form, they will still count as a demon, which makes them easier to track. Stay as far away as possible when fighting Artorias. If he gets within 30 yards of you, he is going to cast a really strong shadow damage over time. Try and keep him at max range and use concussive shot on him if he is gaining on you and recover some distance that way. Keep aspect of the cheater up throughout the whole fight. You want to try and drag him to this road that we are approaching here. If you get to this road, you will have a much easier kiting path as there are no mobs in the way. If you would like to bring someone along with you, they can stand around 50 yards ahead of you where you are going to be taking him to the road, and they can pull the mobs out of the way. But this can definitely be done without someone doing that. It just makes it a little bit trickier. You could even kill the mobs on this path to the road before you started the fight, and that would also make your life a lot easier. Keep your max rank Serpent Sting up all the time and use rank 1 Arcane Shot to keep him tagged. This boss has a weakness to Serpent Sting and he takes extra damage from it, so the aim is to purely kill him with Serpent Sting and keep him away from you. Rank 1 Arcane Shot is going to be important to keep him tagged. It costs less mana to use than a full Serpent Sting, so apply your Serpent Sting and 5 seconds later use an Arcane Shot to keep him tagged. He will enrage during this fight, which will knock off your Serpent Sting. Don't worry about dispelling the enrage with Tranquilizing Shot, just keep him away and get the Serpent Sting back up and use Concussive Shot to kite him, and you will definitely secure this kill. Burning Steps boss Clinfran the Crazed. This boss spawns in the west of Burning Steps and will do an anti-clockwise patrol around the big hill in the southwest. He will also go up to the flat plateau in the southeast before returning to the road. This boss is a very interesting fight and probably my favourite. This is a melee focused fight and you will need to make sure that you have your chosen weapon at max skill. I didn't grab anything fancy for this, and I'm using the Warmonger, which could definitely be improved on as his damage is really low and it dragged out the fight for quite a long time for me. He will buff himself with Demonic Frenzy during the fight, which will increase his melee damage by 300% and increase his attack speed by 15%. A max rank Scorpion Sting will remove this buff and seriously reduce his damage. This fight is all about getting into a smooth flow between your ranged and melee sections. It's a little bit like a dance. Open with an aimed shot and kite him out until he uses his first frenzy. As soon as he does, dispel it with Scorpion Sting and then go into melee and fight him there. I like the flow of 3 melee hits and then a wing clip and kite. Gain some decent range, so when he enrages you're ready to Scorpion Sting his frenzy off and return to the melee. Mana conservation is the biggest issue here. You can definitely bring mana pots if you would like to, which would allow you to pump more damage out with multi-shots or raptor strikes. With using no mana pots, pure auto attacks worked for me, and then I wove in a few more multi-shots towards the end once I had a good gauge of how well the fight was going in terms of my mana and his health. You can swap between aspect of the hawk and aspect of the monkey for this fight, but I like to stay in hawk to increase my ranged auto damage during the kite sections. He doesn't really do any damage in the melee once you have dispelled his enrage, but monkey could help you get a lucky dodge if you leave the melee range late and he pops an enrage. Scattershot is going to be your safety net during this fight. If you are in a bad spot and he enrages while you are close, use Scatter to gain some distance and knock off his buff with Scorpion Sting. Once you get used to the rotation and go for 3 melee hits, wing clip, move away, dispel, it becomes very clockwork and it's a nice flowing rotation to get into. You might be kiting the boss a little bit differently to the way I am, so if this isn't working for you, Try doing 2 melee hits instead and then moving away. This will give you more time to create distance. You might be able to get a few ranged auto shots in, and it will mean that you're further away when the enrage happens. Just make sure that you're keeping the boss tagged, and if you haven't attacked him in a while and you are at range, use a rank 1 arcane shot. Un'Goro Crater boss, Simone the Seductress. Simone has the worst patrol route and can be horrible to find. Have patience and you will run into her eventually. It can be a good idea just to wait at the kill spot because she's going to get there eventually. You want to start her fight when she is next to the northernmost small lake in the west of Un'Goro Crater. In your opener, aim to trap Simone because you're going to kill her pet first. You can either aim shot Simone to ensure that she hits the trap first, or aimed shot, concussive shot the pet, which will force Simone to get the trap first. Kite her dog around the lake and aim to kill it as she joins you in the fight. A mixture of auto shots and multi shots work well for me killing the dog. It doesn't have any threatening abilities, so you can let it get fairly close as long as you can make the distance back. Don't be afraid to use concussive so that you can pump more auto shots and multi shots into a pet and get it killed quickly. The hardest thing about this fight is probably getting that pet killed before she gets too close to you. If the dog's on too high a health and she's in the fight as well, it can be quite tricky to recover it from there. When she joins the fight, you want to stay as far away from her as possible. She casts a chain lightning that does decent damage, but you can interrupt this with the Viper Sting. She has a weakness to Viper Sting and it will silence her. However, I recommend staying at max range and avoiding all of her abilities completely, but if you do end up quite close and she's casting a chain lightning on you, just use a Viper Sting to interrupt it. If you get too close, she will hit you with a debuff called Temptress Kiss. This will reduce your ranged attack power by 1500. If you get hit by this, just keep kiting her and keep her tagged with a rank 1 arcane shot until the debuff falls off. Silithus boss, Solinar the Slayer. Solinar the Slayer spawns in the southeast zone of Silithus near the Twilight Camp and the ruins of Anchorage. You want to activate this boss fight when he is near this ramp at the ruins of Anchorage. This fight is going to seriously test your kiting abilities if done without any buffs or consumables, and is definitely the most challenging, at least it was for me personally. He is going to be enraged when you first activate him. To remove this, you need to hit him with a frost trap and he won't be enraged for the rest of his spawn duration. Once you have done this, feign death and get ready for your attempt. I like to use a freezing trap when going for the kill to give me a double aimed shot and multi-shot opener. Because he runs so fast, sometimes he will run straight over your trap and it won't activate, which is probably a batching issue. If you hit him with a concussive shot just before he reaches your trap, it will land a lot more consistently. Throughout the boss fight, he will spawn scarabs that do moderate damage and are very slow. These scarabs can block your path at times, so you need to watch where they are and keep an eye on the path ahead. This is the most challenging thing about this fight. If you run into them with cheater on and get dazed, it can be very difficult to recover. Swapping to aspect of the monkey and running through them is sometimes the only option. When you run through them, try to strafe and don't let them hit your back to daze you. Avoid them as much as you can. When dropping down from the top ledge, always check beneath you for scarabs, because if you land on top of them, it's more than likely going to be a fail. Rank 1 arcane shot is really important on this fight. You might not get time to land an auto shot if you have a section crowded with scarabs, and if you ignore the boss, he is going to reset. Don't let that happen. This boss has a weakness to wing clip. When wing clipped, he will be rooted for 30 seconds. This sounds like the obvious thing to do, but when rooted, he will cast instant fears that do high damage and have a 60-yard range. The damage alone from these fears can kill you throughout the course of the fight, but they can also send you into packs of scarabs or into the boss, which can cause problems. Going for a pure kiting method is much more consistent with zero consumables, but does make the fight difficult. By going for a pure kiting method, you will also not get any fears cast because he only casts them when he's wing clipped. Try not to use concussive shots to allow you to do more damage. There will be certain stretches where you need that concussive shot to reach the next ledge, and if it's on cooldown, you might struggle. Scattershot is also going to be really useful to help you get past the long kiting stretches and keep him away for you. Just make sure that you are keeping him tagged with a rank 1 arcane shot if you don't have a window to do an auto shot or a multi-shot. These are the strategies that I like to use for these bosses. I am no way at all saying that these are the best strategies, but they are the ones that work best for me, and they also work really well with no consumables. There is a much easier way to kill Solinar with consumables, which involves wing clipping him on the ledges and using shadow protection potions, but it is very satisfying and a lot of fun to be able to kill them without any consumables, and it can really improve your play as well. So I hope you enjoyed this guide. That covers all of the bosses for this Hunter quest. Be sure to drop into the stream and let me know how you got on with your battles. I have to say, this is probably my favourite thing in Classic WoW. It's such good fun doing this quest, and this is what I played back in real vanilla WoW 15 years ago. I was about 9 years old or something, and it took me weeks and weeks to get this done, but it was so good. So it's been really nice to relive this and do it all again. So I hope this video has helped. Be sure to jump into the stream, and until next time, keep on blasting.